Ready to go. There we go. Now I can see your comments. Sorry about that, guys. All right, let's rock and roll. Just wasted a minute of your life. All righty, so tonight we're going to talk about doing a bit of a restructure and replacing some household income, guys. That's really what we're on this for about. So if you have any questions throughout this, feel free, whack them in the comments. I can see them here on my other phone. If you have any questions, and or if Jess will put in there a link. So if you wanted to have a free 15-minute catch up with me at some point about your own scenario, you can put that in there as well. So tonight I'm going to show you guys what I've done with an existing customer of mine. They've been a customer of mine for probably about 8 years. And we just did a big restructure over the last 12 months. So I'm very excited to show you what we've done with these guys. And yeah, feel free to ask questions about you will have some questions about this one. I'm confident with that one at all. Now, let's get started, I guess. Let's book in from there. So where are we? I'm just going to share my screen. So I'll just go through it quickly with you, the first section here. All right, so this is what we're doing tonight. We're talking about restructuring and replacing some household income. This is a quite common thing that can be done. It's not a difficult structure and setup, and it doesn't involve getting into, $10 million worth of debt either. So biggest thing, tonight I'm going to show you, sure, it's real facts, but it's not exactly on what you guys have. So what I mean by that is your scenario could be different. Please just take this as general information, not as financial advice. Okay, just make sure you do that. That's the biggest thing here. So let's run through the needs and objectives for Steve and Fiona. So this is what they wanted me to do. So I met these guys about 8 years ago. For about, I reckon it was about 6 to 7 years, they were just happy with one investment property. A lot of people do that. They're happy with just the one investment property. They've been following me again on Facebook for a while now, and we've got back in contact and reviewed the whole portfolio, which I'm so happy for these guys. We can do big difference. We can change these guys' lifestyle, 100% change their lifestyle. So Steve and Fiona, they're 45 and 42 years of age. Fiona's part-time as an admin in a public school on $45,000 a year, and Steve is full-time firefighter earning $115 grand. Now, they currently only owe $140,000. So for them, it's a relatively small mortgage. It's a small mortgage, definitely in today's world, but it is bothering them, that mortgage as well. They also have an investment property on the central coast of New South Wales worth $700,000 and owing about $450,000. They paid about $450,000 for it about 8 years ago. Probably about 7 years ago, I guess. Fiona wants to retire before she turns 45. So on her 45th birthday or prior to 45, Fiona wants to try and retire. Steve's happy to continue working for basically to retirement. He's happy because his job, he loves his job, and it's not very invasive to their personal sort of routine. So he works 2 days a week in a way. For those of you who know firefighters, they work, I think it's 24-hour shifts. And yeah, they have a fair amount of free days, you could say. They're trained for their job, but they do have a fair amount of free days available. So he's not really caring about retiring. Over the next 3 years, they will have to pay off their home and replace Fiona's income, so at least she can retire. So that's what I'm going to show you guys tonight. This is what I'm going to go through with you piece by piece on what we've done so far and what we're doing at the present time. Okay, so I'm going to just change my cameras. Let me see if I can do this again. Bear with me. It's been a couple of weeks. Sorry about that, guys. Had a few things all going right and wrong. Lockdowns everywhere. All right. Oh, here we go. Just move that slightly. All right. This is what we've got. So I said to Steve and Fiona, I reckon we can do this in 2 years comfortably. All right. Now, this involves a couple of different things to happen. Now, bear with me, guys. I'm going to draw it out as we go. Now, but if you have any questions, like I said, whack it in the video. In the comments, feel free to say hi as well if you want to in the comments there, so I know where you're coming from. All right, so what first thing we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do with these guys is we're going to sell their first investment property. Now, this has already been done. They've sold this property. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to sell their Central Coast property. Now, I'm going to show you this in more detail in a minute. I'm going to break down from a figures perspective piece by piece once I show you the plan that we put in place. Next thing we're going to do, next thing we did is we put a dual key in place. Now, this dual key property we put in place, we actually bought this before they sold their Central Coast property, just to make sure the whole thing was in alignment. 6 months later, we also put in a house and land. So for those of you who follow me on a regular basis, you'll know we call this the steadfast method when you're building your foundation, right? And we did this at a bit of a crossover. So what I mean by that is the dual key wasn't finished here when we purchased the house and land, because we didn't want to lose time. These guys can definitely see the avenue. Once they sold their Central Coast property, they could 100% see, hey, Michelle, how you going? I hope you guys are going okay out there. They really wanted to, they could see it's coming together, so that they just didn't want to slow down. So this is what we did. In the first 12 months, we sold the Central Coast property, put a dual key in place or dual income property in place, and a house and land. So this here's 12-month mark. Then after that, what we're in the middle of right now is we're putting together what we call a HMO property. So for those of you who don't know what a HMO property is, it's a house of multiple occupants, and I'm going to break that down for you again a bit later. And these can take 6 to 9 months, right? Put in place. There's a fair bit of effort that goes into a HMO. So over a 2-year period here, where we were able to basically pay off their home mortgage and replace Fiona's income. Like it wasn't even hard. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a very easy structure to put in place. Obviously, the home loan was low, which made it a lot easier. But this isn't hard, guys. This is simple stuff. And when I see clients on a day-to-day basis, I often wonder, why haven't you started this before? What have you been doing for the last 10 years? And a lot of people say this to me as well. They'll say to me, Wayne, I should have started this 10 years ago and I would have been in a much better financial position. So exactly, they are 100% right. The earlier you get started in property investment, the quicker you're going to have the better outcomes. Alrighty, so that's that 2-year plan. But now I'm going to break it down for you piece by piece, just so you can see how we did it and what we did. Yes, Michelle, retire at 47. That's what we need. Alrighty, so step one, I'm going to just break this down for you. So step one, this is number one. What we did is you've got your home here. Sorry, their home here. It was worth around 900, which is really irrelevant. They weren't really moving or anything like that. And they had a $140,000 loan on this property. Simple things. They had their investment property over here. It actually sold for $704,000, and they owed $450,000 to the bank. So they were left with $254,000 cash at the end of it. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't. Sorry, guys, it was $248,000 cash because that's pay agents. So with that $248,000, they paid $46,000 in capital gains tax, and it left them $202,000 after everything. So you'll see here, capital gains tax, they paid a fair bit of capital gains tax, but you only pay tax on gain or income. That's not a bad thing. Sure, Australia is a very heavily taxed country, but guys, it's not a bad thing to pay tax, okay? They paid $46,000 capital gains tax, but that property themselves, it really didn't cost them any money the whole time they had it, so they weren't complaining whatsoever. So step one, we sold this property, $202,000, and with this money here, what we were able to do is take that $202,000 and wipe their home loan out. So they own their home now, $202,000, and they had about $50,000 in the bank after paying a few big bills that had come through as well. So let's just call it $50,000. So they had a $50,000 in savings because all their money was in their redraw. So their redraw on top of that 140. So they had to have money left over as part of their savings as a buffer. Because when you're investing, you need to have buffers, because these guys wanted to close this loan out. I did suggest them to leave it open, but they just wanted to close it out just to show they'd actually finished paying off their home. All right, so step two, I'm going to do step 2 and step 3 here, I guess, in a way, is what we did was, so it's 2 and 3 in a way. What we did was we put a dual key in place. Now this property here, we sourced this property for these guys in South Brisbane, all right? So these guys are based on the Central Coast in New South Wales, but it's okay to buy interstate if you get the right guidance. So property one was a dual income or dual key, we call it. They purchased for $625,000, and that is now renting at $720 a week in rent. All right. So that's the first property they put in place. Hope you guys can see that okay. My camera's getting a bit blurry tonight. The next thing we did, as you remember, before this one finished, we actually put in place a house and land as well. So house and land, that's all about our steadfast method. If you remember, guys, that's about having a safe, secure foundation for your portfolio. That one they paid $570K for, and that gets $500 a week in rent. And this one here was in the Hunter Valley, New South Wales. So with this house and land, this was with, I think from their home was maybe just on an hour or just under an hour. But it doesn't matter where you buy, guys, as long as it's got all the right indicators that it's going to give you what you need out of that property. So this one we needed income, this one we needed growth. And we see the biggest thing here with the dual key property, we are relying quite heavily on this income to be good. So we want growth out of that income as well, not just the property itself. So that's the second thing we did, right? We paid off their house by selling the Central Coast property. We put a dual key and a house and land in place. Now, these two are both brand new properties, fantastic. It's like buying a brand new car. Everything smells great, looks great, no scratches, everything's fantastic. All right. Now, the next thing we did from that, right? The next thing we did is we put in place a HMO property. Okay. Now, a HMO property, you guys will, a lot of you guys out there will not know what a HMO property is, but I'm just going to quickly break it down for you. HMO property is a house of multiple occupants. It's not a boarding house, even though it does come under some boarding house rules, and it also can come under some group home rules as well. But what we did was we purchased this 4-bedroom HMO property. But when you do one of these, what it is, it's what they call micro apartments. So each one of these properties here had their own kitchen, or kitchenette you'd call it, have their own bathroom and lounge room. Basically self-contained, right? Self-contained property. Now, as you would expect, a 1-bedroom self-contained property, not in the city. So this was not in the city. This property is in the Newcastle area. So it's not in that like CBD. It's just for people who just want to rent one place. They do not want, rent a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom house. It's just one of them. They just want somewhere to rest their head every night. So this one here, total purchase and structure was $650,000. And this got rent of $62,400 in rent. That's how much it's going to rent for. Okay, so we worked our numbers. It's not finished yet, but it'll easily get $300 a week, right? For each property, that's $1,200 a week. And this can be managed by a property manager. It's not a room share. This can be managed by a property manager. The only thing these guys share, especially with a 4-bedroom layout or 4-room layout, is the laundry. That's the only thing these guys have to share. Once you go over and above 5 micro apartments in one property, you normally have to have a common area, and you've got to be up for that. That takes a little bit more maintenance from you as an owner. But this was all set up with these guys. They haven't touched one piece of dirt or anything. They've just followed my guidance and put all this in place. This is really, really exciting to show you how this come together, this one. So this gets $62,000 in rent, all right? That's crazy rent for that purchase price. It's out of control. So these properties are available. Would you make these properties part of your foundation? I don't. You can, but I don't. That's one thing that I don't do. All right, guys. So if you remember, this was a little ready reckoning here. This was the 2-year plan. Sell Central Coast, buy dual key, buy house and land, which I've already showed you, and we put this HMO in place 6 to 9 months over a 12-month period. So as you would have envisaged, Fiona is only about, I reckon she's about 5 months off retiring forever. And she would do that before she turns 44. So she's just about to retire. And it's very exciting to get my clients into this position, all right? So this is something anyone can do, as long as, of course, you have the income and equity structures to do it. So let's break this down. This is about where it counts. These are the numbers where it counts, guys. All right. It doesn't matter what it looks great on paper with fancy pictures. This is the numbers you have to put in place. So I do have my numbers all ready to go. Sorry, guys. I don't want to slow you down by making you wait and wait and wait. So what we have here is got a dual income property. The rent for this property, oops, the red pen, sorry, 37,440. That was $720 a week, if you remember. The interest on that property, because we borrowed the whole amount, so you've got to take off the interest and you've got to take off the expenses, which we do about $6,000 for a dual key property. So net income on that property is actually a little bit lower than what we sometimes achieve at $12,690. We actually get more for that in some cases. So the next thing we do is the house and land. So the house and land was $26,000 worth of rent. Interest is $17,100 and expenses is $5,000, right? So the net income on that property, even though with that house and land, we weren't really looking to get income from that property, it does have a little bit of income because of the low interest rates. We're able to get a little bit of income out of that. Now with the HMO, this is another one here again. It's $62,400 in rent, because these things rent like hotcakes. Interest on that is $19,500 if you can get residential rates. Some banks put you into the commercial rates. So be very careful with HMOs. Make sure you get residential interest rates. And your expenses on that are going to be about $10,000 because you will have more expenses because it is a house of multiple occupants. Now with that, you've still got $32,100 income left. All right, now that is of a cash flow property, but because it isn't a standard everyday mum and dad style investment property, that's the reason why sometimes I don't like that to be a part of your foundation. But when you add up all this income, right, we're going to add up all this income now, it comes to a total of $49,490. So as you would have seen, I have now replaced Fiona's income. Now it gets better. For those of you who know me and have been following me for some time, I love depreciation. Depreciation turns me on. It's my favorite word. With depreciation, so this is income. This is what you would call Fiona's taxable income. But obviously get accountant's advice on this, guys. Remember, it's this general information, get accountant's advice. With depreciation, we were able to find $16,000 with the dual key, $13,000 over here with the house and land, and $25,000 worth of depreciation for the HMO. The reason why the HMO depreciation is so high is because you have 4 bathrooms, 4 kitchens, and you furnish the property, okay? So there's high depreciation. That depreciation will dwindle off, but it's good to have it right now. So in total, with these 3 scenarios, we were able to have depreciation here of $54,000. Right? So as you can imagine, this $49,000 here for Fiona, especially in the first 5 to 10 years, is going to be tax-free money. It's all tax-free. So for me, that's a bonus. That's fantastic. But so that's what we did for Steve and Fiona, okay, guys? This is what I do on an everyday basis for everybody. So I just put plans in place and we work out how we're going to put it together to be able to do it for you guys personally. I'm just going to change my camera back. Okay, I'm back. All right, it's in the middle. All righty, guys. So that's how we did it for Steve and Fiona. It's, as you will see there, obviously they had a small mortgage to start off with. So some of you out there will have a bit of a bigger mortgage. But normally if you have a bigger mortgage, you've got more income coming into the home. They weren't on big money. They were on average money. It was not huge money. So putting that in place, 3 properties and replace Fiona's income. Now, with that additional income, it's tax-free, etc. What they do from this point forward. So once we finish this HMO, we'll be doing a full revamp, a restructure, letting it run for about 6 to 12 months, maximum 12. And I'll be approaching these guys and going, okay, what are we going to do now? Now, that's where you go into next level investing. If you're up for it, you can do a duplex and on sell it. There's different structures, different things you can do. There's a high chance I believe Steve and Fiona will do another HMO once they see how well this works, or at least another dual key, another income style property. Because with these properties, sure, they're generating income, the depreciation on them offsets that, but we still have Steve's income over here, 115,000, that he's paying full tax on. So he's still able to maybe do some manipulation there, another bit of a tax strategy there to help them put more properties in place. The only thing is going to be is the borrowing capacity. The borrowing capacity will get limited purely because Fiona won't be employed. But I did not mention this before, which I just realised, the HMO property we actually put under a trust structure. The reason why we did that is because, in a way, Fiona is now self-employed, and we may open ourselves up. Once she's self-employed for 2 years, we may be able to open ourselves up to more variety of lenders. People would have heard of low doc loans and different things. And depending on what you're doing, for example, if you wanted to do a duplex or triplex or do a small development, they own their home outright. So we're able to use that home with them owning it outright as equity to leverage into the next stage of investment, where we go to private lending. Private lenders do not care about your income, they only care about your asset base. They charge you for it, but it depends on what you're planning to put in place. All right, guys, I'm Wayne Jessup. Now, actually, Jess, I'm not sure if you could put that link in again, if you can hear me here today. But if you want to know what we can do for you guys, in the link, put your details, you book straight into my calendar, and I'll have a 15-minute chat with you to see what I can and can't do for you. And I'll explain to you in more detail how I work, how I get paid, how we search for a property, what I look for in a property, and go from there. I've got a question here from Ben. Are the HMOs built new or renovated? It's actually both, Ben. You can build a HMO from brand new, depending on the zone and the land. Renovating an existing property can sometimes be the easier way of doing it, especially with your skills, Ben. That is sometimes an easier way of doing it and cheaper way, especially if you get involved yourself. And that's the thing, see, guys. Now, I won't tell you what Ben does, but he's a handyman. So he could possibly do a lot of the HMO work if it's a renovated HMO by himself. Or he'll have friends or family that might know people that can get him in place to make it be all done cheaper on an existing property. So that can actually be turned over a lot quicker as well than waiting for a brand new build to go all through council and all through the whole construction phase. All right, but yeah, that's what we're doing. All right, guys. Anyone have any more questions at this point? Just wait 2 seconds. It's normally about like a 5 or 8 second delay. While I'm waiting for more questions, I just wanted to mention to you guys too, we do like to do this every Tuesday. Now, I have, failing that, the last probably month or two, we've had a few issues with internet, issues with computers, issues with lockdowns, but we should be back on track now. And for those of you who know me, you probably are aware that I'm actually doing this thing called Corporate Fighter, where I'm idiot me has thought, okay, I'm going to jump in the ring as a corporate person, and I'm going to fight for charity. So it's a charity fight on the 25th of September, or something like that. And even though we're in lockdown at this point, it's still scheduled for the 25th of September, still training my ass. But with that corporate fighter, sometimes I won't be able to do these lives on a Tuesday. So what we're going to do is we'll let you know early in the week if I can't do it Tuesday, if it has to be the Wednesday or whatever. We just might have to move the days around up until the 25th of September, where I jump in the ring with a bunch of other overweight blokes, basically throw some swinging punches and then possibly get on the drink after. All right, guys. So yeah, Corporate Fighter, that's something to do. If you want to learn more about it or donate money to Corporate Fighter, I will be putting it up on my page in the coming weeks. We're just waiting for the promo video to come out. Or you can go to corporatefighter.com.au and you can learn all about it yourself. We'll be doing another one in Newcastle from the 27th of September. And if you are a corporate person, I do recommend to, if you want to have a bit of a challenge, jump out of your comfort zone, jump on the website, register as well. Now, they are based in Sydney too. So if you are based in Sydney, all this lockdown bullshit will be over soon, and once the vaccines are up to date, and they'll be doing it again in Sydney as well. It's something I really enjoyed attending as, what would you call it, as a spectator, and I signed up straight away for that one as well. So, all right, guys, I'm Wayne Jessup, bringing you real strategies for real results with property. Have a good one, and I look forward to chatting to you next week.